is the meaning of pulmonary artery wedge pressure of 25 millimeters of mercury? You know very well that the pulmonary capillary wedge pressure, it is an important marker of pressure inside which chamber of the heart? Left atrium. Pulmonary capillary wedge pressure is a marker of left atrium. Jugular venous pressure is a marker of right atrium. This we are very clear in our concept. So, a high pulmonary capillary wedge pressure means there is a tendency for formation of pulmonary edema. Whenever the left ventricle fails, left atrium fails, pulmonary capillary wedge pressure will be high and leads to pulmonary edema. So, a high pulmonary capillary wedge pressure means there is a chance of developing pulmonary edema. Can there be pulmonary edema without a rise of pulmonary capillary wedge pressure? When? Typically in ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, what is the definition of it? It is a non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema. That means the pulmonary edema is not because of a rise of pulmonary capillary pressure, it is because of leakage of the pulmonary capillaries due to inflammation. So that is the reason non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema, which is the definition of ARDS, is associated with a normal PCWP. Cardiogenic pulmonary edema because of a left ventricular failure is associated with a raised pulmonary capillary wedge pressure is what need to be basically remembered. Now, 1A afferents, 1B afferents Golgi tendon organs. This is one concept which will be there in 2 pages in Genong or any physiology textbook. Today only you should revise. Last week also we discussed Golgi tendon organ. The purpose is to, the mock test purpose is to remind you important topics. It is not to test your knowledge, because actual examination scenario may what questions come, what type of questions come, at least for the first time NEET PG it is still a big enigma. But for now we should be prepared like a gladiator for any kind of a sword bite. So that's the reason, remember doctor, 1B afferents, what is their main purpose? You have taken a knee hammer doctor, you touched on the, you have tapped on the patellar tendon, that will stretch it. The moment there is a stretch, the 1B afferents, which will be, are the ones which typically become stimulated. And the stretch in turn will stretch the intrafusal fibers, and that increased intrafusal fiber stretch will then stimulate 1A afferents. 1A afferents will lead to contraction of the muscle. The moment muscle contracts, the intrafusal fibers become unloaded, and the moment they become unloaded, 1A afferent activity in turn will reduce. So summarize, tapping stimulates 1A afferent activity. 1A afferent activity will in turn will cause alpha motor neuron activity, which will lead to the contraction of the muscle. Contraction of the muscle in turn will cause the 1B afferent activity to increase and 1A afferent activity to decrease, is the whole idea of the local stretch reflex. Now doctor, dysmetria, ataxia, intention tremor. What is deciding factor? Cerebellar dysfunction is responsible for all these important features, is what need to be remembered. Okay, now you are going to shoot me the correct answer. Shoot me the correct answer. Febrile non-hemolytic transfusion reaction. See, when you give a blood transfusion, if there is a blood transfusion mismatch, there is a hemolytic reaction. Without hemolysis, people will go into chills, rigors after receiving blood transfusion. They are what are called febrile non-hemolytic transfusion reactions. They belong to which hypersensitivity? Give me one confident answer. Dr. Anuja proposes 3 and Varangal says 1, Siri says 1, Shankar says type 2 hypersensitivity. And Dr. Madhuri says type 3. See, doctor, blood transfusion reactions is one of the favorite topics of the examiner. There can be allergic reaction, which is type 1. There can be anaphylactic reaction, typically in the people who are IgA deficient individuals. There can be anaphylactic reaction. Then there can be febrile non-hemolytic reaction, which is a type 2 hypersensitivity. There can be hemolytic transfusion reaction, which is also once more type 2 hypersensitivity. There is no type 3 at all. There can be type 1 or type 2 is what you are going to ultimately remember. These are those finest things which matter a lot after entrance. When you come out of exam hall, we will be thinking, hey, I thought it as type 3. Why did I think like that? All those things, but jab jang ho gaya, ho gaya. You are dead means you are dead. You can't come back to this world. So we should not do such mistakes which are silly, simple, which cost a lot in the tomorrow's exam. Now, doctor, precentral gyrus, corticospinal tract. Why are they very important? Voluntary movement is all because of them. Where is the basic respiratory rhythm created? What is the meaning of basic? Is there any advanced respiratory rate? Basic means no increased rhythm, no decreased rhythm, not a regulated rhythm, fundamental rhythm. It is produced automatically in the medulla. We have a small group of synaptically coupled pacemaker cells in the pre-Bötzinger complex in the medulla between nucleus ambiguous and lateral reticular nucleus, which is the place where there is a normal basic rhythm produced. Now, who controls it? Brain, higher centers. Hypothalamus also controls it. Reticular activating system will control it. And pons, you have a pneumotaxic center, apneustic center. They will also regulate this basic rhythm produced in the medulla. Sunday also we discussed, one similar question on the regulation of respiration. So let me tell you once more, whether NEET PG or straight PG, regulation of respiration is going to be there in the tomorrow's exam hall. Pneumotaxic center, apneustic center, ventral and dorsal respiratory neurons in the medulla. Everything you must give a clean wash and go to the exam hall. Now, doctor, allergic bronchospasm is an example of an obstructive pattern where there is a decrease of FEV1 by FVC ratio is what need to be remembered. It is a V by Q, V by Q ratio. How will be? It will be typically higher in the apex, lower in the base. So the ventilation is more in the base, perfusion is more in the base, V by Q is low in the base is what you are going to ultimately remember. Now, once you are exercising, what will happen? The diffusing capacity across the lung typically will increase. Should be an answer, doctor. One confident answer from all of you. Anti-U1 RNP. Did you mention there may be some visitors to our regular website using username password? They are redirected to this new location to attend the video. No problem, right? Okay. Just inform your friends about this new URL address, livestream.com/dreamslearning, where it is free. Sit at home, sit anywhere and watch a video discussion. It becomes easier. Okay, very good. We get an answer from everybody almost, except Sumati, who went wrong with dermatomyositis. MCTD, doctor. Any Kutti book will give you antibody list, but you are not going to forget to check that. Mainly anti-mitochondrial primary biliary cirrhosis, anti-gliadin celiac disease, anti-Jovan polymyositis dermatomyositis as mentioned by Dr. Sumati, SSA SSB Jogren, anti-U1 RNP MCTD, anti-smooth muscle autoimmune hepatitis. This we will forget. Which antibody in the autoimmune hepatitis means, that time we will be looking towards the galaxy and stars in the exam hall. Anti-smooth muscle and anti-glutamate decarboxylase is in type 1 diabetes. Anti-centromere is scleroderma. Remaining things are very easy to remember, no big deal. Okay, doc. Now, Michaeli-Menton's kinetics. इसका मतलब क्या है? There are two kinds of enzymes, doctor. एक बात सुनेगा और दूसरा बात नहीं सुनेगा. One are regulated, other are non-regulated by allosteric regulators. Those enzymes which are regulated, allosteric enzymes, they exhibit a sigmoidal kinetics. Whereas LDH is not controlled by allosteric effectors. Hence, it will be exhibiting Michaeli-Menton's kinetics is what you have to ultimately remember. Now, doctor, leptin. Leptin and regulation of obesity, appetite is one of the favorite topic of the examiner in the physiology. Leptin का जरूरत कब पड़ेगा? Typically, fatty acid synthase activity is inhibited by leptin, which has a role in regulating food intake and fat metabolism. The main next question also follows the same. Leptin inhibits the fatty acid synthesis. Whenever we eat a lot, when we already have enough fatty acid, you don't need fatty acid synthesis, and leptin will then come and it will inhibit the fatty acid synthesis is what need to be fundamentally remembered. So leptin regulates the body weight because it will decrease the food intake, increase the energy expenditure and inhibit the fatty acid synthesis is what I want to underscore to all of you. All our entrance preparation, we sit in reading room for hours together. What happens to our leptin? Our leptin levels become low. If the leptin is high, we don't eat. If the leptin is low, we eat more, we pick up weight. At the end of the preparation, when you observe, you will discover you got a good rank, you also picked up 5 to 6 kgs extra. So, if you are losing weight means leptin is typically high is what need to be remembered. Now, coming to the glycogen synthesis. UDP, whenever it forms, it is the glucose 1-phosphate, not 6-phosphate is what you are going to ultimately remember. Now, there can be some flatulence which can occur in the people whenever they eat beans. What is the underlying cause? You know very well that raffinose and stachyose, they are the sucrose molecules that have 1 and 2 galactose residues. And they are not hydrolyzed by the intestinal enzymes, but broken by the intestinal bacteria because they have a 1,6 glycosidic linkage which can't be broken by our human enzymes. And that lead to the release of the gases which lead to the development of the flatulence is what need to be fundamentally remembered.